Have you ever seen something that looked human but deep down you knew it wasn't? That morning, Uche would have said no. But before the sun fully climbed over Umuaka village, she found out that even spirits could bleed and cry for help. The cock had just crowed the third time when Uche tied her old wrapper tight around her chest and lifted her clay pot to her head. The air was still cold, and the path to the river smelled of wet earth. She liked that smell. It reminded her she was still alive even though life had not been kind to her. Her husband, Ifani, had died long ago, leaving her with 2 small children, Chika and Namdi. Since then, every morning before dawn, Uche woke before the birds, fetched water, sowed firewood, and fought hunger with a brave smile. She was known in the village as the woman who never gave up, no matter how heavy the world felt on her shoulders. She hummed a tune as she walked barefoot along the red road. Mist wrapped around her legs, and her shadow danced faintly in the pale light. She wanted to reach the river before the other women came, so she could fetch her water early and go home to make pap before the children woke. As she neared the river, she saw 3 hunters standing under an iroko tree. Their guns rested on their shoulders, and their laughter echoed sharply across the water. Uche greeted them politely, "Good morning, my brothers." They replied lazily, barely looking her way. Something in their laughter didn't sound right, too harsh, too greedy for that early hour. She ignored them, filled her pot, and started to leave quietly. But as she walked away, their voices drifted to her ears. My brothers," one said, "we are rich men now. That man from the city will pay plenty for this catch. A pregnant river woman, imagine." Another laughed. "Huh. They said her power doubles when she carries a child. We will sell her and become kings." Uche stopped. Her heart thumped hard against her chest. Pregnant river woman. What were they talking about? She crouched low and peeped through the bush. The men were checking nets and ropes, whispering like people planning something evil. Her breath grew shallow. Pregnant river woman. Sell her. She didn't understand, but those words carried danger. She decided to take the shortcut through the bamboo grove. Her mind was restless, and she felt an uneasiness in her chest. Then she heard it, a soft voice, trembling, calling from somewhere nearby. "Help me, please, help me." Uche froze. The pot almost slipped from her head. She looked around but saw no one. The voice came again, weaker now. "Please, help me." She slowly bent and placed her pot down. Her legs were shaking, but something inside her refused to walk away. She followed the sound through the thick bamboo until she saw something that made her entire body go cold. A woman, at least she looked like one, was tied to a tree. Her long black hair hung wet over her shoulders. Her skin glowed faintly, like moonlight touching the river. Her belly was swollen, she was heavily pregnant. But below her waist was not human flesh. It was a long silver tail, smooth and shining, glistening faintly with water. Uche gasped and covered her mouth. "Chinik. What is this?" The creature looked up weakly. "Please," she said, voice breaking, "help me. They will kill me and my baby." Uche stumbled back. You are a mummy water. You people drag humans into the river." But the tears on her face were real. The bruises on her arms were real. And the fear in her voice broke something inside Uche. "I am from the river," the woman said faintly. "But I am not evil. They caught me when I came to the surface to fetch air for my unborn child. Please, free me before they return." Uche looked around. No one was near. The hunter's laughter had faded in the distance. Her heart raced as she touched the rope. It was tight and cutting deep into the woman's glowing skin. The woman winced but whispered, "Thank you." Just then, Uche heard voices again. The hunters were returning. Her eyes widened. She ducked behind the tree, breathing fast. They said she should still be here, one of them said. Check that side. Uche pressed her hand to her chest and whispered a silent prayer. Suddenly, one hunter shouted, "Antelope! Antelope, my brothers!" All of them ran off, shouting and chasing into the bush. Uche didn't waste a second. She jumped out, untied the last knot, and caught the woman before she fell. "Please," Uche said, panting, "we must leave here quickly before they come back." "I can't walk," the woman whispered. "Help me." Uche looked at her pot, then the river path, then back at the woman. She took a deep breath, lifted her arm over her shoulder, and began dragging her gently through the bushes. The woman's tail brushed the ground softly, leaving wet marks on the red soil. By the time they reached Uche's hut, the sun was already high. Her children were still sleeping. She helped the woman inside, laid her on the mat, and covered her with a wrapper. "Rest now," Uche said. "You are safe here." The woman's voice was weak but grateful. "Thank you. My name is Adoma." Uche nodded. "Rest, Adoma. You are safe." But peace didn't last long. A loud knock came on the door. Uche stiffened. "Who is it?" "It's me, Mama Nkechi," came a familiar voice, the village gossip. "Uche, why are you locking your door so early? You're hiding something inside, ABI." Uche forced a laugh. "Ah. Mama Nkechi, I'm only cooking." "Cooking what?" "Let me come and see." "I beg, go before you spoil my morning," Uche said quickly, pushing the door shut. The woman hissed and walked away, muttering curses. Uche leaned against the door, breathing heavily. Adeoma watched her. "Who was that?" "Just one woman that talks too much," Uche said. "Don't mind her." Then a small sleepy voice said, "Mama, who is that?" Uche turned sharply. Her son Chika stood near the mat, staring at Adeoma with big eyes. "Mama, she has a fish tail, is she a witch?" Uche knelt quickly. "No, my son. She's not a witch. She needs our help." Chika's lips trembled. "But Mama, people say spirits are dangerous." "Not this one," Uche said softly. "She is a mother too. She won't harm us." Adeoma smiled weakly. "I won't hurt you, little one." Chika looked at her again, then nodded slowly. Uche whispered, "You must not tell anyone, my son. Not even your friends. If they find out, they will kill her, and maybe us too." Chika nodded. "I won't tell, Mama." Uche hugged him tightly. Her hands shook slightly, but her heart was firm. That morning, she cleaned Adoma's wounds and gave her warm water. As she wiped her bruised wrist, Adoma looked at her and said, "You have done something great, Uche. The river will not forget you." Uche smiled faintly. "I only did what a person should do." But deep down, she knew this was no ordinary morning. The woman she brought into her hut was not from this world. And her act of kindness had just opened a door that could never be closed again. So began the story of Uche, the woman who helped the river spirit. If you're still listening, don't forget to subscribe, like, and tell us in the comments, if you were Uche, would you have helped or run away? The next few days passed slowly. Uche hid Adeoma in her small hut, away from curious eyes. She fed her from the little she had, washing her wounds and speaking softly to her as though she was one of her own. Sometimes, Adeoma would hum songs that didn't sound earthly, songs that made the air around them feel heavy with something sacred. The children listened in silence, eyes wide with both fear and wonder. At night, when everyone else slept, Uche would sit by the fire, staring at Adeoma's silver tail glimmering faintly in the dark. She often asked herself if she had done the right thing. Helping a river spirit could mean blessings, but it could also mean trouble beyond human understanding. Still, when she looked at Adeoma's swollen belly, she couldn't regret it. The woman was suffering, and that was all she had seen. But trouble, like smoke, never hides for long. 3 days later, a shout tore through the calm of the village. The river is angry. The river is boiling. People ran from their huts, shouting and pointing toward the stream. Uche's heart leapt. She hurried outside and saw that the river had turned muddy, bubbling like hot soup. The fish were leaping out and dying on the banks. Children were crying, elders were praying, and the village priest, Ezenwata, was sprinkling white chalk on the ground, chanting, "The gods are angry. The gods are angry." Uche felt her knees weaken. She knew why. She ran back into her hut and saw Adoma sitting upright, clutching her belly, sweat pouring down her glowing skin. "The river is calling," Adoma whispered. "It knows I'm not there. My time has come, the baby is ready." Uche panicked. "Here. You want to give birth here? How will I help you? I'm not a midwife." Adoma gripped her hand tightly. "You are enough, Uche. Please, help me. If I go back now, they will kill me and my child." Uche swallowed hard, fear filling her throat. But she couldn't turn away. She laid Adoma down on the mat and covered her with another wrapper. The cries of the villagers echoed outside, but inside the hut, there was a different kind of storm. Adoma screamed once, the kind of cry that didn't sound human. The wind outside howled, and Uche felt her ears ring as the fire in the clay pot flickered wildly. She prayed under her breath, "Chinik, Baiko, protect me." Then came silence. And in that silence, a baby cried, soft, beautiful, but carrying an echo that made Uche's heart shake. Adoma smiled weakly and held up the child. The baby's skin shimmered faintly like the mother's, and its eyes glowed the color of clear water. "She is mine," Adoma whispered. "But she is also yours, Uche. You have saved her life." Uche didn't know what to say. She looked at the child and felt her heart melt. "She's beautiful," she said quietly. But Adoma's smile faded. "The hunters, they will come. They can smell my kind. You must promise me something." Uche nodded quickly. "Anything. If I don't make it, take her to the river after 7 days. Place her by the water at midnight. The river will know what to do. Don't let anyone see you. If you keep your promise, you will never lack anything again." Before Uche could answer, Adoma gasped, her body trembling. The shimmer in her skin grew brighter, then dimmed like fading moonlight. She whispered, "Thank you, my sister," and then, she was still. Uche froze, tears spilling down her face. The air grew calm again, the noise from the river faded, and silence filled the hut. She held the baby tightly and wept quietly. That evening, she buried Adoma behind her hut, under the Udola tree, whispering prayers for a soul that didn't belong to earth. She told the children to say nothing, and they obeyed, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. Days passed. The river calmed, but the village did not. The hunters came back, angry and suspicious. They went from hut to hut, shouting that someone had freed their catch. When they reached Uche's house, one of them, tall and mean-looking, said, "Woman, we heard you came to fetch water that morning. Did you see anything unusual?" Uche forced a calm smile. "Unusual? Nothing, my son. Only water and my reflection inside it." The man's eyes lingered on her longer than she liked. "If you hear anything about a strange woman, call us. She's dangerous." She nodded. "I will." When they left, she sank to her knees and whispered, "Adoma, wherever you are, protect me." That night, strange things began to happen. When she cooked, the food never finished, no matter how many people she served. Her fire would never burn out. Her children's coughs disappeared. And every time she fetched water, fish swam close to her pot, glittering like silver coins. But not all blessings bring peace. On the sixth day, Mama Nkechi saw something she shouldn't have. She had been spying, as usual, and she saw Uche washing a tiny silver cloth by the river, cloth that shimmered like water. That night, she ran around the village shouting, "Uche is hiding a spirit child. I saw it with my eyes." The next morning, the villagers gathered before Uche's hut. Ezenwata, the priest, stood in front with white chalk on his face. "Woman," he said, "you have been accused of harboring a spirit. If it is true, confess now, before the gods punish us all." Uche's hands shook. The baby was sleeping inside. She looked at the crowd, faces of people she had known all her life, now twisted with fear. "I don't know what you are talking about," she said firmly. "I am just a widow trying to feed her children." Mama Nkechi shouted, "Liar. I saw her washing the cloth that shines like moonlight." The crowd murmured. Ezenwata turned to her. "If you have nothing to hide, open your hut." Uche's heart pounded. She had no choice. She stepped aside slowly. The priest entered, lifted the mat, and stopped. He found the child. The baby looked at him and smiled, and for a moment, he froze, staring into eyes that shimmered like water. Then he stepped back, trembling. "This is not a human child." The crowd gasped. "Spirit! Spirit!" they shouted. Uche ran forward, tears streaming down her face. "Please, don't hurt her. She has done nothing wrong." But Ezenwata raised his staff. "If we don't return her to the river, the gods will destroy us." Uche fell to her knees. "Please, give me till midnight. Let me take her myself." The mother said the river will know what to do. "Please." The priest hesitated, looking at the child again. Then he said, "You have till midnight. If you don't return her, we will burn your hut at dawn." Uche held the child close, her heart heavy with both fear and love. That night, she wrapped the baby in white cloth and walked silently to the river. The moon was full, the air thick with the sound of crickets. She reached the edge, her hands trembling. She whispered, "Adoma, I have come as you asked. Take your child." The river water began to ripple, glowing faintly. The wind blew, carrying a soft voice that said, "Thank you, Uche." The baby smiled and stretched her tiny hand toward the water. Uche kissed her forehead, tears falling onto her cheek. "Go well, my little one." The baby's body shimmered, turning into light that sank slowly into the river until only ripples remained. Uche stood there alone, crying silently. She had done what was right, but her heart felt empty. When she returned home, something strange awaited her. In the corner of her hut was a small clay pot filled with cowries, gold dust, and a folded leaf. On the leaf, in watery handwriting, were the words, "The river never forgets kindness." That was the night Uche's fortune began. If this story has touched your heart, remember to subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, if you were Uche, would you have obeyed the river's call or hidden the child forever? From that night onward, Uche's life was never the same again. The next morning, when she woke up, she found that her old leaking roof no longer dripped. Her broken water pot had sealed itself. Even her firewood pile, which had almost finished, was now full again. The children ran out shouting, "Mama, look. The cassava you planted has grown overnight." At first, Uche thought it was a dream. But day after day, blessings kept flowing like water. Her small garden began to produce crops so plenty that even the elders started asking her how she did it. Goats that never produced milk before started giving so much that she began selling in the market. One day, Mama Nkechi came to her compound with a forced smile. "Uche, my sister," she said sweetly, "how are you doing these days? Your compound is looking fine." Oh. Uche wiped her hands on her wrapper and looked at her with a calm face. "I'm managing, Mama Nkechi. How can I help you?" Mama Nkechi laughed nervously. Oh, don't be angry about that day, oh. You know me, my mouth is sharp but my heart is clean. I only spoke what I saw. Uche smiled faintly. Don't worry. The river has washed everything away. For the first time, Mama Nkechi didn't understand her. She looked around, suddenly uncomfortable, then muttered something and walked away. But not everyone left Uche in peace. The 3 hunters who had captured Adeoma became restless. Each of them began to suffer strange fates. The first lost his eyesight one morning after washing his face at the river. He said he saw a flash of silver before darkness covered his eyes forever. The second fell sick and began to scream at night, saying he could hear a woman crying inside his head. He ran mad before the next full moon. The third, the one who had spoken of selling the pregnant river woman, tried to run away to another village, but his canoe capsized in the same river, and his body was never found. The villagers started whispering, "The gods have avenged her. The river spirit has taken back her own." People began to look at Uche differently, with both fear and respect. Some called her Noni Mary, the woman of the river. Others said she was protected by forces greater than man. But Uche never bragged. She kept her heart humble, continued working, and cared for her children quietly. Years passed. Chika and Namdi grew strong and wise. Their mother's blessings reflected in their lives. Chika became a skilled carver, making beautiful wooden masks that people came from far villages to buy. Namdi became a farmer whose crops never failed, no matter how dry the season was. Sometimes, at night, Uche would sit outside her hut and listen to the sound of the river flowing in the distance. She would smile softly, remembering the baby she had returned to the water. She often whispered, "Adeoma, I hope your child is fine." And each time, a cool breeze would blow past her, carrying the scent of river flowers, as if in answer. But peace in the village is like dry season rain, it doesn't last forever. One Harmattan morning, a group of strangers arrived in Umuaka. They said they were traders, but their leader, a tall man with strange tattoos on his arm, asked too many questions. He spoke with the elders, claiming he was searching for a woman who once saw a spirit. The elders sent for Uche immediately. When she arrived, the man looked at her with a crooked smile. "So you are Uche? The one they call the woman of the river?" Uche frowned slightly. "That name is not mine. I am just a widow." He chuckled. "You have something that belongs to us. A pot of river gold. You found it, didn't you?" The elders turned to her, shocked. "Uche, is it true?" She shook her head. "I found nothing. The river blessed me, yes, but I stole nothing." The man's smile vanished. "Liar. The treasure was meant for the spirit's guardians. If you don't return it, your village will pay." Before anyone could speak, thunder rumbled though the sky was clear. The man staggered backward, eyes wide with fear. A voice echoed from nowhere, soft but commanding, "Touch her, and the river will remember your name." The man dropped to his knees, trembling. Then he and his men ran from the village, never looking back. The elders turned to Uche, stunned. Ezenwata, the priest, bent slightly and said, "The gods walk with you, woman. You have done what no one else would have done, showed mercy to a spirit." From that day, the villagers began to honor the river differently. Every planting season, they carried yams, palm oil, and kola to the water as offerings. They named the stream Miri Adeoma, Adeoma's river. And Uche's name became part of the song sung by the young girls when they fetched water in the evenings. As the years passed, Uche grew old. Her children married, and her grandchildren filled her compound with laughter. But one evening, as the sun was setting and the air smelled of ripe mangoes, Uche sat outside her hut, staring toward the river again. She felt a strange calm, the kind she hadn't felt since that day she helped Adeoma. Chika came to her side and said, "Mama, it looks like you're waiting for someone." Uche smiled faintly. Maybe I am. That night, when everyone had gone to bed, she heard a soft knock on her door. When she opened it, a young woman stood there. Her eyes shone like moonlight on water, her skin glowed faintly, and around her wrist was a bracelet made of cowries, the same kind Adoma used to wear. Uche's heart stopped for a moment. "Who are you?" she whispered. The woman smiled. "You know me. I am Adeoma's daughter." Tears filled Uche's eyes. "You're alive." "Yes," the woman said gently. "The river raised me. I came to thank you. My mother told me everything. She said you gave her peace when no one else would. Because of you, our kind and yours now walk in harmony." Uche couldn't speak. She reached out and touched her arm. It felt warm, soft, real. The young woman placed a small jar in her hand. "When you pour this into your stream tomorrow, the land will never go dry. Your children will never beg for bread." Uche nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Tell your mother. I kept my promise." The woman smiled. "She knows." Then she turned and walked into the darkness. A faint glow followed her until she reached the river. Uche watched as she stepped into the water and vanished like mist. The next morning, the villagers found Uche sitting peacefully by the doorway, her head resting against the wall, eyes closed, a smile on her face. In her lap was the small jar, half open, and beside her, the ground was wet as if rain had fallen only in that spot. Ezonwata, now an old man, said softly, "The river has come for her." They buried her beside the same Udola tree where she had buried Adoma long ago. And every year, when the river festival comes, the women of Umuaka still tell her story by the firelight, the story of Uche, the woman who helped the river spirit, and how kindness can shake even the world of the gods. And when the wind blows softly through the trees by the riverbank, the people say it is Uche's spirit walking with Adoma, watching over the waters together. So, my friend, if you ever pass a river and hear your name whispered in the wind, don't be afraid. Maybe it's not danger calling you. Maybe it's gratitude. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments.